This is the Enchantress, the Good Samaritan, out here on these YouTube streets, coming today because I have a whole lot to say. People, I want to say this. Be not dismayed if you find yourself stumbling, fumbling, or even yet falling. We exist in a world, in a matrix, a dome, that has been excessively pulsated with adverse energy. You get what I'm saying? We live in an environment that, by the looks of it and exist of it, it is something that can bring about complete balance, even in its natural and nature state. But it is obvious to all who are probably under the sound of my voice that something adverse and contrary is being injected, pulsated on a regular basis. And so I want to speak to that. Growing up as a child, and even as a young adult into my 30s, my mother, she loved me and she admired me, but she understood my weakness and she dealt with me accordingly, and she dealt with me very harshly. And one thing that she was very stickler about was having me to be accountable for the choices and the decisions that I make. And like I say, even into adulthood, I found it, how should I say, painful, painstaking. And with anything, there comes some degree of pain if you expect to grow or attempt to grow or evolve. And I say this in reference to what is coming as a backlash to this supposed breakup of VelMek. People have jumped on the train to create this ship. This is what my teenage granddaughters refer to as when you take two people and you put them together. They call it and term it, quote unquote, ship. And they've shipped Velvet and Omek together with this elaborate air and dressing up and celebration and promotion, as if it were going to be a savior type of union. Now that she had left Nature Boy, now she was doing something different. But one thing I'd like to implore is that which I've been given about Velvet is almost identical to what I've been given about Eligio in this realm. And they're equated to cosmic thieves. They've stolen their way in, and everything that they've done has been thievery. She's just a female version of himself. Now, I've said that publicly and openly, and it turned some people away, even rubbed people the wrong way. And I was ostracized, shunned, and even conspired against. And so, through all of this, I've remained firm, bold, and held the position that has been given to me to understand what is transpiring. But if you found yourself contrary to my position in all of this, and now you feel as if you've fallen or stumbled on this whole subject, my advice to you is what my mother would have given me, is to just stop it. Stop it. She wouldn't want to hear the conversation unless it was very open in admitting error, being wrong, being hoodwinked, taking the full brunt and the weight of that. And also, if you've been in a position where you've been, condoning this and celebrating this relationship, and now you feel as if you were wrong or in error, that's a heavy responsibility to pay now, because you have led many astray. And if you have a belief in anything higher than yourself, then you have a responsibility to that higher self and belief to do what is appropriate. Don't hide behind the decision that you make. Stand up and be bold. Admit your error if you feel that you're in error, and be blunt about it. And allow those who you may have disagreed with, verbally, openly, or just in your spirit. You owe it to those people to recognize that they stood firm, even myself, and held firm in their beliefs and understanding as to what they were given about this particular entity, Velvet, that she's no different than Eligio. They're the one and the same. They're the yin and the yang of their existence, male and female. There is no separation of these two. And if you've been fooled by their devices, let this be a lesson to you that you can be so sure and so steadfast in something and always leave open the opportunity to be in error. If you don't do that, then you're not a seasoned, and you're not a disciplined and conditioned enough disciple to even speak to the masses. I'm just going to be blunt and tell you that, because so many have taken positions that they have not earned, and they're not prepared, they're not disciplined, they're not conditioned. They have the title and they have the sophistication and appearance of what they say that they are, but they haven't been tried and tested like the mighty oak that has been tried repeatedly, storm after storm, and has stood and weathered, that its roots has grown to a degree that it is just unfathomable, impeccable. There are tales of oak trees that if your spirit and your energy is not proper and you were to sit under the tree, that your demise would come because you're not fit. Or those who are not fit taking how should we say, ownership and going to the tree and picking its bark, and because they're blemished, they're not righteous, they're not whole or goodly, that they're falling to their deaths. So don't take this lightly, people. And if you find yourself that you've fallen in reference to Velvet and now you're beginning to see, you owe it to the community that you have to be open and honest, and not to try to sweep this under the rug. Just as much energy as you put into her leaving and now living a different life, you need to put even more energy into admitting that you were wrong and taking in the dialogue of those who have stood firm and the criticism that they have to give, and even advice and love. Don't just accept the kindliness and the goodness and the parts that you want to hear. You have to embrace it all in order for the whole community to grow. If you don't, then you're going to be a bad apple in a bunch of possibly good apples, and you're going to spoil the whole bunch. I just had to come and say that.